Joy raised the belt again, but froze when Michael's voice thundered, "What are you doing to my niece?" Welcome to Tales by Steph. A home of interesting African stories, Sandra had always been the kind of girl who carried light with her wherever she went. At just 12 years old, she was bright, full of laughter, and carried herself with the innocent curiosity of a child who believed the world was mostly kind. She was in her final year of primary school, and her father had promised her a holiday away from their small but busy apartment. Her father's younger brother, Uncle Michael, lived in the city with his wife, Joy. They had no children yet, and Michael thought it would be a good idea for Sandra to spend a few weeks with them during the long school break. "You'll see the city, Sandra," her father said that evening when he broke the news. "Your uncle has been asking to host you. You'll enjoy yourself, and when you come back, you'll have stories to tell." Sandra's eyes lit up. The city. She had only ever seen glimpses of it through television and stories told by her classmates whose parents took them there for shopping. "Daddy, are you serious?" "I'll really go?" she asked, almost jumping with joy. "Yes, my dear," her father chuckled, ruffling her braided hair. "But remember, when you get there, be respectful, help around the house, and don't forget your upbringing. You are representing me and your late mother." At the mention of her mother, Sandra's eyes softened. Her mother had passed away when she was much younger, and though she had grown used to the gap, she often wished she had a woman's warmth in her daily life. Maybe Joy, her uncle's wife, would fill that space, even if just for a short while. On the morning of her departure, Sandra packed her small box carefully. 2 dresses, some blouses, her favorite blue skirt, and a pair of shoes her father had bought her for Christmas. She hugged her father tightly at the bus park, her heart filled with excitement and a little fear. "Be good, Sandra," he whispered. "Obey your uncle and his wife. Remember, respect will carry you far." The bus ride to the city was long but thrilling. Sandra pressed her face to the window, staring wide-eyed at the tall buildings, billboards, and endless traffic jams that swallowed up cars like ants. Her village life seemed a world away. By the time she reached the terminal, the sun had started to sink, painting the skyline with streaks of orange and purple. Uncle Michael was waiting for her at the station. He looked just as her father had described him, tall, with a gentle face and a calm smile. "Sandra," he called, waving at her. "Come, my dear." She ran to him and he pulled her into a warm hug. "Ah, you've grown so much. You look just like your mother," he said softly. Sandra smiled shyly, touched by the compliment. They drove home in his black Toyota Corolla, weaving through busy streets. Sandra couldn't stop looking at everything. The neon lights, the hawkers at junctions, the children running after Kiki riders. "Uncle, your city is so big," she exclaimed. Michael chuckled. "It's big, yes, but you'll soon get used to it. This is your home too, Sandra. Feel free." When they pulled into the compound, Sandra's heart raced. The house was a 2-story building with painted walls and flower pots by the gate. Several cars were parked in the compound, and children from other tenants played noisily with skipping ropes and plastic footballs. This was nothing like home. It was larger, louder, and alive with energy. Joy, her uncle's wife, was standing at the doorway when they arrived. She wore a fitted gown, and her hair was neatly tied in a scarf. She smiled, but Sandra couldn't tell if the smile reached her eyes. "This is Sandra," Michael introduced proudly. "My niece." "Welcome," Joy said, her tone polite but cool. She bent slightly and hugged Sandra loosely, then quickly turned her attention back to Michael. "I've prepared dinner." Sandra noticed immediately that Joy didn't look at her the way her uncle did. There was no warmth, no sparkle of excitement. Still, she brushed it off, telling herself that maybe Joy was just tired. That evening, Sandra sat at the dining table with them. The food was delicious: fried rice, chicken, and salad. Sandra ate quietly, remembering her father's advice. Joy hardly spoke to her. Michael filled the silence with stories and laughter, asking Sandra about her school, her friends, and her dreams. "I want to be a nurse one day," Sandra said proudly. Michael smiled and said, "You will, my dear. You will." After dinner, Sandra helped clear the plates. "Ah, leave it," Michael said, but Sandra insisted. "Daddy said I should always help." She washed the plates carefully while Joy watched silently from the corner of her eye. That night, Sandra lay on the soft bed in the guest room, staring at the ceiling fan as it whirred above her. She felt happy and grateful. "This holiday will be the best," she whispered to herself before drifting off to sleep. But the next morning, things began to change. Joy knocked on her door early. "Sandra, come out." Her voice was sharp. Sandra quickly got up and opened the door. "Yes, Auntie." "Good morning, Ma. Go to the kitchen and sweep. Afterwards, wash the toilet. Don't spoil anything." Sandra blinked, surprised. "Okay, Auntie." When Michael came out later, he found Sandra bent over the sink. "Sandra, you don't have to do all that. You're here to rest." Sandra glanced at Joy, who stood by the doorway. "It's fine, Uncle," she said quickly. She didn't want to look disobedient. Over the next few days, Joy's tone grew sharper. She always had something for Sandra to do: fetching water, scrubbing the bathroom, ironing clothes. Whenever Sandra tried to rest, Joy would call her name. "Sandra, you think this is your father's house. Move." Michael didn't notice any of this. He left early for work and returned late, often too tired to see what went on at home. Joy smiled sweetly whenever he was around, asking Sandra, "Did you eat?" Or, "Are you fine?" But the moment he left, her voice hardened. Sandra began to sense that something was not right. The excitement she had carried to the city started to fade. She still forced herself to smile whenever Michael was home, but deep inside, her joy was shrinking. One evening, Sandra accidentally spilled a little water on the tiled floor while carrying a bucket. Joy's eyes flared. "Are you blind?" she shouted, slapping Sandra across the cheek. Sandra staggered, shocked, her eyes filling with tears. That was the first slap. Sandra's heart pounded. She wanted to scream, to run, but she remembered her father's words. "Respect will carry you far." She bit her lip and whispered, "I'm sorry, Auntie." Joy folded her arms, glaring at her. "You'd better be. If you think you'll come here and spoil my things, you're mistaken. This is my house, not your father's." Sandra lay in bed that night, her cheek still stinging, tears soaking her pillow. She had thought the city would be a dream. Instead, it was beginning to feel like a nightmare. Sandra woke up the next morning with her eyes swollen from the tears she had cried into her pillow. The sting on her cheek had faded, but the memory of the slap clung to her like the smell of kerosene on a cloth. She stared at the ceiling fan, afraid to step out of the room, but she knew if she delayed, Joy would only get angrier. She folded her wrapper neatly, tucked her clothes back into the small box her father had given her, and stepped out. The smell of frying eggs filled the air, and for a moment her stomach rumbled hopefully. But in the kitchen, Joy stood with her arms crossed, watching the pan like it had offended her. Two plates sat on the counter, and Sandra noticed immediately. Both plates had already been served, one for her uncle, one for Joy. "Auntie, good morning," Sandra greeted softly. Joy turned, her face tight. "Morning. The bathroom tiles are dirty. Wash them before your uncle wakes up. And don't expect me to feed you before you finish." Sandra's chest fell, but she nodded. "Yes, Auntie." She picked up the bucket and brush, scrubbing while her stomach groaned. She could hear Uncle Michael's voice drifting from the sitting room as he spoke on the phone. He didn't know she was working on an empty stomach. By the time she finished, her knees were sore. She washed her hands quickly and rushed to the dining table, but the plates were already empty. Joy was sipping tea, scrolling through her phone. "Go and eat bread in the fridge," Joy said without looking up. "If it's still there." Sandra found a single slice of stale bread and chewed slowly, swallowing it with water. She missed her father. At home, even with little, he always made sure she ate properly. Here there was plenty of food, but it was always kept out of her reach. Later that afternoon, Michael called Sandra to the sitting room. "My dear, are you enjoying yourself?" he asked kindly. Sandra hesitated. Her eyes darted toward Joy, who was standing at the doorway. The woman's stare felt like a knife. "Yes, Uncle, I'm fine," Sandra lied, forcing a smile. Michael smiled back, satisfied. "Good, that's what I like to hear. Enjoy yourself, Ain. This is your home." He returned to his laptop. Sandra's heart ached. She wanted to tell him the truth, but fear held her tongue. She remembered her father's words again. "Respect will carry you far." But she wondered, what about pain? Who carries that? That night, Sandra lay awake, staring into the dark. She heard Joy and Michael talking in their room. "You pamper that girl too much," Joy said. "She's only a child," Michael replied softly. "She lost her mother. Let her feel loved." "Loved," Joy hissed, "so she can grow spoiled and disrespectful? She needs to learn discipline." "Discipline doesn't mean harshness," Michael said, his voice firmer now. "Don't forget she's my niece. Treat her like our own child." Joy went silent. Sandra's heart swelled with hope. Maybe her uncle suspected something after all. But the next morning proved her wrong. Michael left early for work, and the moment the gate clicked shut, Joy's eyes hardened. "So, you think you can make my husband turn against me?" she snapped. Sandra froze. "No, Auntie, I didn't." A sharp twist of her ear cut her words short. "Keep quiet. From today, you'll learn who the real woman of this house is. If you cry to him again, I'll make sure you regret ever stepping into this compound." Sandra nodded quickly, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, Auntie, I won't say anything." Joy released her ear and shoved her toward the laundry basket. "Good. Now wash all these before noon, and don't you dare leave soap stains. If you do, you won't eat." Sandra bent over the basin, scrubbing furiously as her tears mixed with soapy water. She worked until her fingers turned white and her back ached. When she finally finished, Joy inspected the clothes, her nose wrinkled. Not bad, but don't think you've impressed me. Lazy children like you need to work twice as hard." Sandra wanted to scream, but she swallowed her pain. She remembered her father's smile when he waved her goodbye at the bus park. He had trusted Joy. She didn't want to disappoint him by returning with complaints. That evening, Sandra went outside to breathe. The compound children were playing football near the gate, their laughter filling the air. One girl, about her age, waved at her. "Come and play." Sandra shook her head shyly. "I can't, I have chores." "Chores? You're on holiday," the girl laughed. Sandra forced a smile but didn't explain. She sat quietly on the steps, watching them play. For a moment, she almost forgot her troubles. She imagined herself kicking the ball, running free, laughing without fear. Then Joy's voice thundered from the kitchen. "Sandra, are you deaf? Come here." The other children stared as Sandra ran inside. Her face burned with shame. She wished the ground would open and swallow her. That night, after finishing the dishes, Sandra lay on her bed. She stared at the ceiling fan again, her chest heavy. She thought about her father. She thought about her late mother. She thought about the home she had left behind. She whispered into the darkness, "Mummy, if you can hear me in heaven, please protect me. This place is not safe." Her small voice trembled, but somewhere in her heart she believed someone was listening. By morning, nothing seemed different until the day began. Joy woke her earlier than usual with a harsh knock on the door. "Lazy girl, wake up." The compound needs sweeping, the bathroom is dirty, and you will cook beans this morning. If you burn it, you won't taste a grain of food today." When Uncle Michael left for work, Joy leaned against the door and said coldly, "So you were calling your dead mother last night?" "I heard you. Foolish girl, you think the dead will come and save you? Let me tell you something. Nobody will save you in this house." Sandra froze, her spoon clattering into the pot. "Auntie, I didn't mean—" "Shut up," Joy barked. She grabbed Sandra's wrist so tightly that the girl winced. "From today, you will learn respect in this house. If you dare report me to my husband, I swear you'll regret ever being born." That day marked the true beginning of Sandra's nightmare. Joy began to deny her food openly. Sometimes she gave her only water while she and Uncle ate jollof rice and fried meat. Other times she would deliberately serve Sandra burnt scraps, saying, "If you don't like it, go back to your father." She increased the workload, washing piles of clothes alone, scrubbing the toilet on her knees, cleaning windows too high for her small hands. If Sandra faltered or slowed down, Joy's insults poured like acid. That night, Sandra lay on her bed, her skin burning from the lashes. She whispered again into the dark, "Mummy, please, I can't take this anymore." For the first time, she dreamt. She saw her mother standing at the edge of a river, dressed in white, her face glowing. She didn't speak, but she stretched out her arms as if to say, "Hold on, Sandra. Hold on. Help is coming." Sandra woke up with tears on her cheeks, her heart pounding with both fear and hope. What she didn't know was that her whispered cries were no longer a secret. One of the neighbors had started paying attention to the sounds coming from Uncle Michael's flat. The muffled sobs, the sharp scolding voice of Joy, the suspicious bruises on Sandra's arms. Sandra's prayer had reached not only her mother's memory, but also human ears that would soon expose the wickedness happening behind closed doors. One afternoon, Mama Esther, the woman who sold vegetables just outside the compound, called Sandra as she walked past with a heavy bucket. "My dear, why are you looking so thin? Are they not feeding you in that house?" Sandra shook her head quickly, eyes darting. "I'm fine, Ma." She tried to smile, but the bruises on her arm betrayed her. That night, as Sandra scrubbed the bathroom floor on her knees, she felt dizzy, her vision blurred. Joy had denied her food again. She collapsed against the tiles, breathing hard. Joy rushed in, not out of concern, but fear. "Get up, you useless girl. If you die here, how will I explain to my husband?" She dragged Sandra by the arm and poured cold water on her face until the girl stirred weakly. Unfortunately for Joy, Mama Esther's teenage son had heard the commotion through the open bathroom window. He saw Sandra lying on the wet floor, too weak to move, while Joy shouted at her. He ran straight to his mother to tell his mother what had happened. The next morning, Mama Esther gathered courage. She went to Uncle Michael's office before he even left for a business trip. "My son," she began gently, "you need to open your eyes. That girl under your roof is suffering. Neighbors have seen the bruises. We've heard the cries. You cannot ignore this." Michael's face drained of color. "Bruises. Cries. No, Sandra told me she was fine." "Children will always say they are fine," Mama Esther said, shaking her head. "But walls have ears. The whole compound knows she is not fine." Michael's heart thundered. That evening he returned home earlier than usual, unannounced. He opened the door quietly, and what he saw froze him. Sandra was kneeling in the corner of the kitchen, tears streaking her face, while Joy towered over her with a belt in hand. "You think you can disgrace me in this compound? Today you will learn." "Joy!" Michael's voice cracked like thunder. Joy spun around, startled. The belt slipped from her hand. Sandra's eyes widened, relief and fear colliding at once. Michael rushed forward, pulling his niece up into his arms. "Sandra, what is this?" Who did this to you? Sandra burst into uncontrollable sobs. For the first time since her nightmare began, she let it all out. Uncle, Auntie beats me. She doesn't give me food. She makes me suffer every day. Michael's chest heaved as anger consumed him. He turned to Joy, his voice shaking. Is this true? You've been treating my brother's child like this, under my roof? Joy froze, her mouth opening and closing like a trapped fish. At first, she tried to deny it. Michael, don't believe this girl. She's lying. Children exaggerate. I only corrected her the way a mother should. Mother? Michael's voice cracked like glass. You dare call this cruelty motherly correction? Look at the marks on her back, Joy. Look at her arms. She's starving under your roof, and you call this correction? Joy's eyes darted to the doorway where neighbors peeped in. Their whispers stung her like thorns. She dropped to her knees, her pride finally breaking. Michael, please, she begged, clutching at his trousers. Forgive me. I didn't mean harm. I was only stressed. She was lazy. She spoiled things, and I lost my temper. Please don't disgrace me before the neighbors. I am your wife. I can change. Give me another chance. But Michael's face was like stone. He lifted her hands off him. No, Joy. This is beyond stress. This is wickedness. A woman who cannot love a child cannot raise one. If you wanted respect, you should have shown love, not fear. Sandra, still crying in his arms, whispered, Uncle, please, don't let her hurt me again. Michael's jaw tightened. She won't. Not ever again. Joy kept begging, even crying now, but it was too late. The neighbors had heard Sandra's cries. They had seen the belt in Joy's hand, and Mama Esther's testimony was louder than Joy's excuses. Michael's shame turned into rage. Pack your things, Joy. You will answer for this. No child deserves this wickedness. Not in my house, not anywhere. For the first time, Joy realized something crueler than shame was waiting for her. The truth she could no longer bury. Sandra was taken to the hospital the next day, fed and cared for. Word spread through the compound, and Joy's name became a warning to others. Never maltreat a child left in your care, because one day the truth will shout louder than your silence. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment for more unique stories.